This episode talks about how to move to Japan. Find out.
What's up, everybody? This is LL and FT.
What's good, guys? How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of the Gaijin Bar Podcast.
Episode 2.
Yes, sir. And today we talking about how to move to Japan.
But before we do that, I noticed that you became some kind of a model now on some website and stuff. What's that about? Man? What's that about?
We gotta. Well, I mean, I guess that we could go into that like during this episode about getting jobs and creating other opportunities and whatnot.
Japan's next top model. Look at you being all professional while I try to divert the conversation towards the embarrassing bit.
Nah, So,
all right.
Let's get into it about
let's do that.
moving here. So let's start with you. How did you move to Japan?
So it's a little bit different. So when we talk about moving to Japan, there are ways that are a little bit more common and ways that are less common. Mine would fall into the less common category, but I did for a time also hold a visa as a student, which is one of the easiest ways to be here. So let me give you my experience. I came here for work, and my visa was and is related to work. And that changes depending on what kind of job you're in. If it's something about research or academic work or specialized work, electricians and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time that I was changing my visa from to, because my visa originally was only a couple of years, and there was a grace period, or rather there was a period that I would have not had a visa had I not changed it to a student visa, while I was waiting to do all the stuff that I needed to do to get back my original visa. So I was a student, and that is one of the easiest ways to get a visa in Japan. Come here as a language student. How you do that is actually very easy. You find a school that you're interested in whatever location you're interested in, and you apply online to that school. Most likely you will get accepted immediately. It's pretty much automatic, but they will ask you to file some documents. You file said documents, and then you're probably going to also have to go to the Japanese embassy or consulate that is closer to you, file some documents there too. You will receive the documents that you need to enter the country, or even you can get the visa directly in your country, and then, go to Japan, enjoy.
That's what happened to me. I got mine from New York.
Right? And the student visa, though, is going to hold you here for a couple of years unless it's a university student visa. So in other words, you can extend it up to 2 years. After that, it's not impossible to do, but the immigration office is going to start asking a whole lot of questions, like why do you need to be a student for any longer than 2 years? I mean, just how long do you want to study the language?
Still learning Japanese.
Yeah, hashtag Japan.
I'm still learning Japanese. 2 years wasn't enough for me to learn.
That ain't it. If you can't write fucking haikus in a 2-year time, I'm sorry, but you ain't good enough. Not really. The immigration office is probably going to give you some grief. It's not impossible to extend it beyond 2 years, but it's going to give you some trouble, unless you are a university student. That's why a lot of language students, they actually transition to university after they finish with language school.
Makes sense.
They do 2 years of language school, and then they go to university, which is a whole other beast. And so for me, it was work and student visa and working visa. For you, was also working visa,
yes,
but a more common kind. What's
I
up?
took okay. And also, I just want to add that the student way is so common that when Japan was locked down, that was one of the first people
Yeah, that's true.
or visas allowed back in the country. So being a student is a really good way to get here. So for me, I took the more common route, which was finish university and then become an English teacher. So if you guys are interested in teaching English, basically you just go to the website. I'll give you 6 companies you can check out that you're probably going to get hired by. You can type in, just go on Google, type in Borderlink Japan, Interact Japan, ECC Japan, Aeon Japan, Joy Talk Japan, Nova Japan. Like, you type in any one of those, or go to Gaijin Bar and they'll have jobs as well. But so I applied to Interact, and I got hired by Interact. So the process was, you know, you do a phone interview. So I was lucky. The lady that did my interview, she basically just answered everything for me. Like she's like, so why do you want to teach? And I said, well, because I was always interested in helping the future of children. Ah, so that means you like to do blah blah blah. I said, yes, exactly. And then she would ask me the next question, and I'd be like, well, I kind of so you wanted to blah blah blah. Yeah, oh yes, exactly, yes. And I was just like, okay, you got it. You want to do the interview for me, then
I mean,
that's
she
all
got
awesome.
it down, man. Like roll with the punches, I guess. Like, if
So I'm
you
like,
want to get
alright.
me hired, I'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. And so after you do that interview, it's on Skype, by the way. At least mine was. And then it's a second follow-up interview, and then they just ask you a couple of more questions. Why do you want to be in Japan? Why do you want to teach? Um, what's your experience? This kind of thing. So you just say all the good stuff. You feel like you can impact the future of the world by being all the good stuff. That people like to hear. World peace type stuff.
That seems a little bit too much, though. I mean,
Nah, it was fire. I was like, because I traveled the world, I feel like I can share my experiences with the future of Japan to make them more global. I was saying some fire. So after that, you do an in-person interview, and it's like a class, and you have to do like a demonstration. So you're
wait,
gonna
the
do like
in-person interview, were you still in your country?
yes, this is all taking place in America.
All right.
So I went to the location that they told me to go to. I was with other potential hirees, and it was like a class kind of thing. So, everybody introduced themselves in English and in Japanese, and then we just watch slides go past. They explain about the company, explain about what English teaching is and the process, this kind of thing.
Mm.
Then after that, it's up to us to do like a demonstration. So like we'll do like a mock class, like a very short, like 5 minute kind of thing. You will or you might feel very silly because I know I did. Like, um,
But who were you teaching to in this mock class?
exactly. You're teaching all the other adults, and you're acting like a kid. So, all right, guys, how do you say, I don't know, apple in Japanese or something? Oh, Ringo. Okay, all right, but it's all grown people, so it feels very, 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 very weird for me. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it was very weird.
Yeah, I mean, some
Doing,
people might have some kind of stage fright. Some people might feel embarrassed. Some people might not
like,
care at all.
it just feels silly because like we have this thing where you get the gist of it. Like, come on, like we don't
I mean,
need
dude,
to.
it's an RPG thing, like role playing game. Like you gotta role play a little bit. You
I
gotta role play a little
mean,
bit.
I think it's too much. I mean, after the first kind of example, and then you got to do like the head, shoulders, knees, and toes dance and
Although,
all this kind of thing.
to be fair, this doesn't really apply to every school you may get a job with. Like every school does things differently. So
This
every
is true.
school might have steps to take that are similar to other schools or completely different from other schools. So it really changes depending on the school.
hmm
Um,
By
that
the way, I'm
something you
doing
might want to notice.
ALT. That's why I'm doing ALT, which is assistant language teacher. So
Mm.
assistant language teacher, and then the other common way is Eikaiwa, which is English conversation school, which is for like after school. So that's like
Mm.
adults or kids that's like forced to go to the cram school kind of thing. So
That would have been a
Eikaiwa
nicer thing, I think.
or Eikaiwa.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is, well, for me, it was about I want my Saturdays and Sundays off. So there's two big differences with the Eikaiwa and the ALT lifestyle. I mean, I could give you that if you want me to go into that now, or is that another episode?
Why don't we talk about, yeah, like in another episode, like we can talk about different jobs in Japan, and teaching is going to be like the most common, most likely.
hmm
But like you can give a quick rundown, like more or less. So pretty much like if you choose the assistant language teacher, it's more of a like a quote unquote 9 to 5 type of job. So you're gonna have weekends
Right, you're
usually
gonna
free.
follow like the regular school schedule.
Yeah.
So
Whereas the other one kind of puts you in after work hours
right,
because you are catering to that kind of customer. That makes sense.
you'll
Yeah.
you'll be working, you'll be off on like Tuesday, Wednesday. Like I'm good on that. You make like an extra like 300-400 bucks, but I don't want to do that.
So the whole process, how long did it take? Like say
Uh,
from the moment that you had the first call to the moment that you got the visa in your hand, how long did it take you?
8 months or so.
All right.
Something like 8 months because after you do the after you, so after I did the interview, And the lady, she said, okay, I'm gonna, recommend you. And she said off my recommendation, people usually get hired. So about a month after that interview, they came back with the offer. They don't hire you. They offer you like,
Mm.
you know, hey, we have this position. Do you accept? Yes or no? If you don't accept it, then they just give your spot away. So I don't recommend if you want to come here. I recommend if you want to come here, you just take what they give you, and then
Yeah.
you figure it out once you get here, which is kind of what I did. So yeah, then they're gonna follow up after that and tell you about all the documents you need. So you're gonna need 5,000 USD. You're gonna need to come over with 5,000 USD. You're gonna need, of course, your bachelor degree. You're gonna need criminal record
So the
check.
5,000 USD, was it like an Interact thing or um
Uh, well, that was the Interact thing. I'm not sure if other companies do that,
mm,
but the $5,000 thing is because they're assuming you don't know what you're doing. So when you come over, they're gonna set you up with a housing. They're gonna set you up with all of these kind of things.
mm,
So you're gonna be, yeah. So they're gonna take, well, they, for me in my experience, they took half, paid my rent and everything for me, handled all that kind of stuff, and then they have a worker that they hire to set up everything else, like your furukomi, which is like your automatic rent payments and everything. So
mhm.
this person for one day comes with you to go take you everywhere. So you go to the bank instead of a
Gotcha.
bank account and set up direct deposit. You go this bank. I mean the person takes you to Daiso to show you how to get toothpaste and all of this and what toothpaste is and just like all the essential stuff. Get your my number card. Get your all the essentials
So
for.
there is one thing that I wanted to look at that you mentioned about the degree, and a lot of people might be wondering whether you need a degree to move to Japan. Technically speaking, you do not need a degree to move to Japan, but interestingly enough, when you do apply for a visa, one of the first questions that you get asked before whether you have a criminal record is what kind of degree you're holding. In other
Mhm.
words, the immigration office itself, not the jobs necessarily, which by the way they do too, but the immigration office itself finds that to be an extremely important thing. We don't know exactly where it comes from. My understanding is that uh, if you have a higher level of education, meaning up to a bachelor degree, it means that you would be potentially more productive in the society in which you're moving,
Uh,
which is Japan. There is no official statement about that, but guaranteed you will have a massively easier time getting any kind of visa here in Japan, except for student visa probably,
yeah.
if you have a bachelor degree. So if you're looking for any kind of job here, even jobs that in other places may not require a bachelor degree, do keep in mind that when you do come to Japan, bachelor degree holds a lot of importance. Is it
Yeah.
impossible to find a job otherwise or find a visa otherwise? No, it's not impossible, but it's wildly hard. I wouldn't really count on that.
Yeah, the
You can
bank on it would
try,
be a
but
bad idea, I would say.
yeah.
Cause so I could even like on that point, right? Like I know a guy when I first was here, when I didn't have a bachelor's degree. He actually was a principal.
Mm,
It was a black dude that was a principal of a Japanese school, and he was like, "Yo, I could hire you, but because you don't have a degree, when I go to do like on his side, when he go to immigration, it's gonna be like that's what's gonna mess up my opportunity. Cause he said it's immigration that asks for the degree.
it's one of the first things I ask.
Yeah,
Like
the
it's really sort of
immigration
like at the
office
top.
acts. Yeah. So he said that would be the problem on why. Like he said, I could hire you, but immigration is gonna ask for the degree. So
And that's why even when people, oh, but I have a friend there in Japan who owns this company. I have a friend who does this and that. My cousin. Yeah, no, that's cool and everything. But when your friend goes to immigration to get your papers in order, he will immediately get stopped because you don't have a degree.
right, it's
And
gonna be harder work for them.
it really doesn't matter what kind of degree we're talking. You can become an electrician with an English literature degree and vice versa,
Listen, if there's a
as long
degree,
as you have one.
if there's a degree in taking a piss and it's
That
accredited by a
would work
university,
too.
is legitimately enough to do whatever you need to do here.
They don't
Like,
really look at what kind of degree you have as long as you have a degree. The only thing that they may look at if you're looking for a specific job, but that's mostly on the part of the company, it's not immigration, is the university from which you got it. So if you get a degree from my neighborhood's university, it's one thing. And if I get a degree from Harvard University, it's another thing. And if you have a degree from a prestigious school, even though that degree may not match the company, the job that you're applying for, the company's not going to care.
yeah,
Because it's a more prestigious
they're gonna
university.
train you anyway. Actually,
Mm.
that's another thing. But again, we'll talk about that later in another
But
episode.
so what do you need is a degree for the most part. Not impossible. A degree, an idea of what you want to do. Be a student, be a teacher, and or whatever other job you want to do.
Mhm.
Do the papers way ahead of time, dude. Japanese bureaucracy moves slow.
I said it took me about 8 months. So if you want to do this, start putting it, because it's better to put in your, take your interviews now and whatnot, and then just decide, oh, I don't want to go, I'm scared, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Then to want to be here for real, and then, you ready to leave, and it's like, oh, 6 months later, 7 months, 8 months, and
Because
there,
It took you 8 months for a job that is actually very common to get for an English speaker.
Right.
Imagine if it's something that is a little bit harder,
Exactly.
or if you're not American or whatever.
Everybody don't
just
wanna-
plan way ahead of time, dude.
Yeah,
Plan
that's what I was
way
saying,
ahead
too.
of time. And another thing is that if you're from an English-speaking country, especially if you're from North America, like say United States and Canada, the UK and Australia,
Mhm.
the job that is probably going to be the easiest for you to get, aside from your specialization, is English teaching. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't.
I
But
mean, it's
gonna
a way
be
to get
very
over
easy
here,
to
man.
get. Yeah, exactly.
It's a way to
Just
get over
get
here.
your ass in, and then you'll take it from there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like with job types, those are English teaching, recruiting, and like IT, communication,
Oh, yeah.
like PC. These are the most common 3 ways that foreigners, like these are the most common jobs that foreigners work. So anybody outside of these jobs are usually uncommon cases.
Now, aside from the visa, the jobs and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you and I both know that a lot of people, want to move to Japan for one reason or another.
Mhm.
What are the things that you think, if somebody moves to Japan, the things that they need to be prepared for? Something that is going to hit them hard once they're here.
Oh, okay. Number one, for me, make sure you are prepared to get paid one time a month, okay? Because in America, we don't do that.
Ah, yeah.
That is a
because you
very
know,
big overlooked factor that I'm used
for
to now.
Americans, yeah, that's
But
really
hell
big.
no, we don't do that, right? And as Americans, we don't do that. We get 2 weeks, 1 week, and that's the most is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So 100%, if you from America, you getting paid monthly. You know how many times I've talked to like people like in the stream and said, "What month? Huh? What you got?
Manage
yeah,
your
you gotta-
money.
yeah, you
Manage
really
your
have
money.
to. It's 1 month, one time, and then as an English teacher, you don't make that much money. So just letting you know, that's make sure you understand. 1 month, every month, you're getting one check for variable amount of money. So that's the biggest thing I would tell you to be.
If
prepared
you're
for.
from Europe, that is not really going to apply to you much for the most part. We get paid monthly
Oh,
as
okay.
a regular thing.
Okay, yeah, as
like
Americans,
Italy.
nah.
Most European countries.
Be aware, Americans. Be aware. It's a monthly thing, so
That's
yeah,
true.
that could be hard to get used to. I'm telling you.
Another thing that you might want to consider, although everybody talks about it and very, very few people put in the work, especially before coming to Japan, is get your language up. Work
much as
on
possible.
your Japanese as much as possible, because it is going to make a massive difference. It's not only going to make a difference in your everyday life, opening a bank account, for example, and catching a taxi home or whatever. It's also going to make a big difference if the job that you're coming in with is not the one that you want to stay with in the future. So let's say, for example, that you come in as a teacher and you decide that you actually don't want to be a programmer. You want to work for Nintendo or whatever. That is a distinct possibility, but if you do not speak Japanese, the chances that you're going to get any job outside of the industries that FT mentioned a minute ago are slim to none.
Yeah.
You must speak Japanese up to at least a level N2.
Yeah, so if y'all unfamiliar, you have a JLPT, Japanese Language Proficiency Test, which is categorized by N1 through N5. N5 being the most basic level, and then as you get better, it goes down. So you N5, N4, N3, N2. That N2 means, well, I don't know if it actually means you're good enough in Japanese, but it's enough to. I mean, well, it's a lot of people, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I know Chinese people that can't speak, but they just can pass the test. So they're N2, but they can't actually speak.
Well, they can pass the kanji N2, but they cannot pass the rest of the N2. Like the listening, for example, and the speaking of N2, they're not going to be able to pass it.
But once you got N2, you're basically working in any Japanese company, actually. Yeah. And then if you're N1, well, you know, just
most Japanese people I know wouldn't be able to pass N1. Honest to God, it's kind of like, I don't know. Do you know the TOEFL?
Yeah, like when they ask you questions that you know English, but it's like,
yeah, exactly. It's the English equivalent of the JLPT, and a lot of American people would not be able to pass the TOEFL at the highest score, which used to be 120. I don't know if it's still the same, but anyway. So get your Japanese on. And on that note, speaking is probably the most important thing, and reading kanji is the second most important thing. Writing kanji, I don't think is that relevant.
Yeah, I mean, when
it comes to preparing yourself.
Grab your phone and just
exactly.
the kanji for you.
If you know how to pronounce them and if you know how to read them, you can type it on your phone, and you know if you messed up, because, I mean, now, okay, I don't recognize that. That shouldn't be it.
Right.
So that is another thing. And what else is there? Oh, my God, there is so much that I want these people to know, but I just don't know how to break it down. What else can you think about?
As far as things that they should be aware of before they come in?
Be prepared for. What is it that a lot of people, like I've seen it even in your chat, in my chat, people expecting a certain thing and not finding it. Or being shocked that it's not like that.
Be prepared to do hella paperwork. That is so Japan, I always talk about this on the stream. When you think of Japan, you think you're gonna be like flying a jetpack to work every day. Maybe you might, you might take the local Gundam to the job today. Let me just hop in a Wing Zero and fly real quick. Nah, like the public transportation is godlike. Like it's literally on time and everything. But behind that futuristic thing, it's fax machines, hanko, aka like stamps, like physical stamps.
An actual stamp. Yeah.
Like it's so primitive at this. Like it's both like advanced and primitive at the same time. It's like the Jetsons and the Flintstones at the same time.
Japan is very attached to its traditional things, and tradition doesn't necessarily come only with like kimono and beautiful art and stuff like that. Tradition also come with extremely archaic practices, like the hanko. A hanko is a stamp that is your signature. It's an official signature. You need a hanko to open a bank account, for example, and a number of other things. You lose the hanko, identity theft in this country is actually very easy. You lose the hanko, you're done. And Japan tends to be very archaic. You need to be prepared for that. There is going to be a lot of things that are done in pen and paper. There is going to be like actual fax numbers on
Here's mine. This is my hanko. This is what
I have mine there.
If you're unfamiliar, should I say, with what a hanko is, this is literally a stamp. This is my name in katakana, and it has ink. Yes, ink right here. You press it in there, get the ink on your thing, and then you press it on.
Where's your hanko paper?
Hanko paper.
No need to show it, but where? Oh my, dude, that is the most important thing. Okay, here live. If you have a hanko, they're gonna give you a hanko paper. You have to go to City Hall or some sort of department, City Hall office, and they're gonna give you a paper which validates your hanko as the real one. Should you lose that hanko, that paper is the only way in the world that allows you to get a new hanko and invalidate the one that you lost. If you don't have that paper, somebody else has your signature. That's it.
Well, mine should be in that drawer, though. That's why I put all those documents.
Okay. But your apartment is like 1 square meter. Find it.
I mean, I look after it because I wasn't aware of like that.
Yeah, no, don't do it now. But yeah, maybe later you're gonna wanna find that paper So you remember when you got the hanko, you went to some office. You must have gone, right?
I went to some place, yeah.
Yeah, and over there they must have given you a box with paper in it.
I can't remember. It was like when I first got here 2 years ago.
All right, so find it, dude. But find that thing, or go to City Hall and get another one.
Gotcha.
As long as you have the hanko.
But yeah, hankos.
So
out of date.
Archaic. Expect that. Is going to be bad in that sense. So the thing is that to recap up until now, what do you need to move here? You need to know what you want to do. Student, job. You must consider getting a bachelor degree, so a 4-year degree, not a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree before you come here. If you come from a country other than America, you need a major degree. So it cannot be any kind of minor degree. So it has to be a degree that forces you in university for 4 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and consider learning the language the best you can.
Yeah. I'm not saying
They're
be
good.
fluent, but just, while you're
Not
not here,
necessarily, yeah.
while you're not here, just, level up while you're not here. And then bring
Although
that
you
here.
can still live here without speaking a lick of Japanese.
Yeah, it's
don't
possible.
get me wrong.
But your experience
Just
will be
harder.
significantly hindered. You'll be stuck with only the foreign community. You'll be regulated to only like Japanese guys or girls that speak or kind of speak English. If you're looking for your future wife or husband, though, just
But
think
even
some of that.
networking is gonna be harder. You're
Yeah,
limited to the
networking.
one language that you speak in a country that doesn't have that language as a native. So it doesn't really help you with anything that you want to do. Whether you want to hook up or you want to find the next business partner to get your startup to be valued $1 billion, you need to speak Japanese.
Yeah.
So you really want to consider that. Other than that, there's really not much to it. When I was thinking about this episode, it boils down to coming to Japan is actually very easy.
Mhm.
Staying in Japan, that's a whole other animal. Staying in Japan is hard.
Yeah. To some
Believe
extent, yeah.
this country doesn't want you here, not for an extended period of time. It's designed to make it so that whatever you do, it cannot last forever. So I don't know about teaching though. Is there any limitation to how long you can be here as a teacher? Because I remember talking to somebody in Kyoto, but that's just hearsay. And I remember them needing to change job because they had been teaching for too long.
So to my knowledge, the only force out with teaching is that after X amount of years with a certain school, you have to change schools. That's the only thing I heard about.
Okay, so probably that was it, yeah.
Other than that, it's not like you can't teach. It's just that, so your company will have to just place you in another school,
Gotcha.
from what I heard.
Got it. And so that's pretty common, although it's not common if you work for a company. Once you're established in a company, that's not going to happen. But getting a job in a proper Japanese company is actually kind of complex. When it comes to teaching, okay, so here you have it. When it comes to studying, you have a limit, like set in stone pretty much, a couple of years and then university. If you come here as a student, there is one thing that is actually really odd when you compare it to other countries offering the same kind of visa. The visa is not being given to you by the country itself, or by immigration rather, but is given to you by the school. So what does that mean? When you apply for a school and the school sends you all the papers and everything, among those papers there is an acceptance of a visa. So pretty much the school is telling the immigration office, yo, we are taking these guys, so you can give them the visa. And what the immigration office does in that case is simply looking over what the school has done and then giving you the visa. That comes though with the fact that you have to pay attention to the school rules in order to maintain that visa. Some schools, albeit rarely, will care about your grades, so how well you do in school. But most schools, pretty much all of them, they will care a lot about attendance. If you go below, I think 86% of attendance, you have a very high risk of losing your visa the following time, unless there was some sort of medical emergency and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. That is also very relevant. So when you come here as a student, you actually have to go to school. Maybe you don't have to be good at it, but you have to go to school.
So, and as far as I was going to go into like the other methods of getting a visa, which is, okay, so I'm going to just throw them out, and then if we want to go into a more detailed discussion, we can. So
yeah, let's go.
You got student visa, work visa. They have marriage visa. Marriage visa. I've never been married, but I know that they actually check about, you know, for photos of you and your other significant other, like they really scour to make sure y'all really
It's not
been
a fake
together.
marriage, yeah.
Yeah, they really scour for that. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about getting married and you're wondering like why your visa is not approved or not, or
Yeah,
why it's taking so
about
long.
that, you know how, for example, in America or in other countries, when you get married, you may or may not get checked to, by the immigration to see whether your marriage is actually factual, whether it's real,
Hmm.
or if it's just for visa purposes. Here in Japan, it's not like that. If you get married, you will get checked.
Yeah, they check.
It's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of they will do it, period. And they will want pictures, yes, but also text messages between the two of you. And the farther back they stretch, the better. And one thing to keep in mind is that your marriage license and your visa are not necessarily tied to one another. The fact that you're
Mm.
married, no matter whether, so even if they confirm that your marriage is actually real,
Hmm.
your visa is not tied to that. They may deny you the visa no matter what. That depends on what you're doing in this country, your job, your income,
Taxes,
etc.
paying taxes or whatnot. That's a big one.
Yeah.
From what I hear. So you got that visa, right? So we covered that one. Marriage, and then you have what is called a specialties visa, which means this visa allows you to actually not have a degree if you have 10 years or more experience in a certain field, but it's like certain categories. Like I think like a chef, like some
Yeah.
specialty.
It's
It
very
has to be.
specific, yeah.
It's like a specialty. You can check it out on your side. I'm not exactly sure offhand which ones is which, but this visa does exist where you have 10 years of experience in a certain field. You actually don't need a degree, and you can work in that field here, and you can get a visa corresponding to that. Another visa is actually a self-sponsored visa, and
Love that one.
this visa works. You need at least 50,000 in the bank and
50,000 American dollars or
fifty
equivalent of,
thousand
yeah.
USD. Yes, 50,000 USD or more. And you need to be like in good standing. Like if you was already here, make sure your taxes is paid and everything like that. But if you can prove you have like a valid business, or like you show
You
this
don't need a
money.
business, you need a business plan, really.
There we go, like a
So
plan.
it's for people with a vision and with some money in the bank. Well, quite a bit of money in the bank, really.
And you can actually get this visa as well. So
Self-sponsor visa. In that case, you don't, well, a degree will still help you, but what he's talking about is actually very real and not at all uncommon. So if you have a good business plan, but a good business plan means outlined in the proper way on paper to present to people, like physically, not only like I have a good idea, I have a good
yeah,
business
check
plan, it
this out.
can
Yeah.
work. That's not going to work. You need to show the money in the bank, the equivalent of about 50,000 USD. You need a good business plan to present to people, and you need to just apply for it. And likely, if these things are well done, you will actually get the self-sponsored visa, but it's limited to whether you are going to eventually start that business or not. So
Mhm.
I don't remember how much time they give you to do so, but I think it depends on what kind of business you're presenting.
And remember,
Uh,
you just need to show it. And what I mean by show it is, I mean, I'm not saying do this, but if you have family members and friends that want to give you enough money that you don't got 50,000, but they have enough money that it shows 50,000, and then you give it back to them, that is totally valid. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that it's a thing that can be
if
done.
one were to
Yeah, if
do
one were
that,
to do that, then it's
people who are evaluating whether you should get the visa or not may not notice that. Although, if one were to do it, I would recommend that they did that at as far away from the moment that they present the bank statement as possible, because the bank statement that they will ask you is for the previous 3 months. So make sure that if one were to
if
do
one
it,
were to, yes.
would have to make sure that one's family and friends did not deposit money into one's bank account prior
Within
to
that,
these 3 months.
yeah.
I mean, not prior, I'm sorry, within those 3 months. It
Within,
has to be
yeah,
prior
yeah.
to it.
If one were to do this, of course.
If one were to do it,
Yeah,
which we're not suggesting one did.
not at all.
No, but if one had parents with money and one's parents were willing to do it, these would be one's way to get a visa relatively very easily. assuming that they actually have a business plan, though. Remember that the business plan part is actually very relevant. It's not something like of a business idea. You go and, I got 100K in the bank and I got this idea. It's going to fucking rock. It ain't going to work.
Right.
You actually have to present like professionally built business plan. Even I wouldn't know how to do it. So you actually have to go and look how to present a business plan, possibly in Japanese. So
that's also that. There we go. Everything comes full circle, huh?
Yeah, everything comes full circle.
That
pretty much covers it.
Yeah, I think that's. Oh, and then the special case, which I cannot do. You have working holiday visa. A lot of people actually don't know what this is. This is a visa for, well, not again. It's rough for me because I'm not American, and American doesn't have this. But I know like UK, Canada. If you guys are from those countries, you're allowed to live in Japan for, I believe, up to 2 years, with like jobs in like tourism and other fields, but I'm not exactly sure.
Here, I got all the information here. So the working holiday programs are based on bilateral agreements intended to make it possible for the youth of Japan and its partner countries and regions to enter each country region primarily for the purpose of spending holidays while allowing them to engage in employment. So if you are interested in doing this, you must belong to one of these 26 countries. So if you want to come as a working holiday in Japan, and that's Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, Republic of Korea, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Denmark, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Norway, Portugal, Poland, Slovakia, Austria, Hungary, Spain, Argentina, Chile, Iceland, I'm assuming Czech Republic, Lithuania, Sweden, Estonia, and the Netherlands. If you are from one of these countries, you can actually do the working holiday visa for Japan, which is 1 year?
I think it's 1 year and you can extend for a second year. I think.
Gotcha.
And the reason why I bring this up is just this: if you are the I don't want to go to college person, this actually will allow you to come here without a degree.
Yeah.
So
you have to be within a certain age too.
Yeah, I think up to 31. Because I was actually going to do it for Australia, and Australia's limit for Americans is 31. So that was what I was checking. I know like Ireland. This is all for Americans. Ireland didn't have a limit. It was based off of the amount of money you had, and then New Zealand had something. I know Singapore was you have to be 25 or younger. So there are restrictions. You just gotta figure out.
There are quite a few actually. So there is a intending primarily to spend holiday in Japan for specific length of time. You have to be between 18 and 30 of age, but that depends on the country. Because, for example, for Australia, Canada, Republic of Korea, the applicant has to be between 18 and 25 years of age. And in the case of Iceland, 18 to 26. So it really depends on the country. So it's a case-by-case basis.
Right. So you have to just do your own due diligence.
Yes.
To check.
And you cannot have dependents on you, as in you cannot be accompanied by children or other people that depend on you financially. So that is also another thing. But anyway, it's very much feasible, working holiday. And guys, there's one thing on a personal note. If you feel that we, unlike the previous episodes, kind of don't really know where to go with this, is because it's wildly easy to come to Japan. It is really not that hard to come to Japan, especially if you are from an English-speaking country. So the reason why we're kind of thinking about what to say and stuff is because there isn't really very much. We told you quite literally everything there is to know.
Actually, we forgot one thing.
Did we now? I stand corrected.
The tourist visa.
Well, the tourist visa is not a visa. That's a lie.
But, people don't know. There are rules and stuff that people need to know about it.
Okay.
The goddamn tourist visa. So, at least if you're American, you can just come in. Well, I mean, let's say prior, I guess even right now still. You can come in. If you're from America, you could come into Japan, and you can stay up to 3 months.
90 days, if you want to be specific, yeah.
So, that's when you come in here, no, you cannot work. If you get caught working on a tourist visa, you can be in a lot of trouble. So I'm just killing all of like the common questions that's gonna happen. Hey, can I work on a tourist visa? No, you can't. Okay, you're here for tourism. You're not here to make money. Now you can search for a job while on a tourist visa. This is a doable thing. I'm not sure how.
It is, but your chances of changing visa
Right,
while still
right.
in Japan are very, very slim. I say very, very slim because I know that it can be done. I know as a fact it can be done. But I'm telling you, it can be done only if there are extenuating circumstances and if you're really good at arguing your point. Because the immigration visa otherwise does not make exceptions. As a general rule, the reason why I didn't mention the tourist visa, nor do I think that it actually applies, is because, like you said, you cannot really work on a tourist visa legally. And um, another thing is that you're limited to 90 days, and technically speaking, re-entry is frowned upon. So a lot of people think that because they have the 90 days permit, by the way, we call it visa, but that visa is not really something that you have to apply for. If
It's
you're
just
from
your
one of the
passport.
countries,
It's just
yeah,
your passport.
exactly.
It's literally just your passport.
If you're one from one of the countries where that with Japan that has a treaty with Japan that allows citizens to stay for 90 days, pretty much you do it on the airplane, and it's virtually automatic. And you cannot work, and you would think, say for example, you stay in Japan 90 days, then you go to another country, then a week later come back into Japan.
If
Yes,
if one were to do this, you do get
technically you can,
you do get another 90 days reset. If
but
you're gonna get more suspicious as you go,
do it more
right?
and more.
Right. They're gonna, huh? What are you doing? What is going on
But
here?
the thing
Hold
is
up.
that you're risking to find that customs officer who just doesn't like the idea. And at that point, you're going to have to deal with the person that you meet, which is something that you kind of don't want to do when you're planning on living in a country. So if you're planning on having like a very long holiday because you got money to spend and stuff like that, that's awesome. But the thing is that if you're planning on actually living here,
Mhm.
doing so while on a tourist visa is not something that I would recommend at all.
Oh, yeah, it's not a
Because,
recommendation. It's just like I just want to throw every option.
but do
Somebody
you
might
think
be
that's actually an option though?
people do it. People have done it. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
people
it's the
did
best
do it.
idea, but people did do it.
Mm,
So, and again, it's not like a recommendation. I'm just throwing out because people be, oh my
you
gosh,
never know.
they didn't even mention the tourists. People be, bro, it's the internet.
I mean, that's the
People be,
internet, and
you know what I'm saying?
when the
So,
time comes, I'll deal with it. But
gotcha.
until then, like the way I see it is this. Okay, so FT said mine is that I don't think you should consider the tourist visa even as an option to live here. The tourist visa is
Mm.
awesome if you want to be a tourist. And if you want to be a tourist for more than 3 months, you can actually apply for another kind of tourist visa that allows you 6 months. And if you want to do the back and forth, make sure that the back and forth is not really relevant to you in terms of whether you manage to get. So if you cannot get back into the country for whatever reason, it's not you're not losing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to be something like, oh well, whatever. It was fun until it lasted,
Mm.
because at that point it depends on this the customs officer that you're gonna meet at that given time, because they might very well turn you and tell you to go back to wherever you came from.
Right.
The visas are not visas are not something. It's not a right. It's a privilege.
Oh.
So the country can take it away from you at any time. Keep that in mind. So when you're planning on moving here, you kind of want to make sure that you do everything by the book if you're serious about moving here. If you're just testing the waters and you want to see if you can stay here for 6 months without really doing anything bureaucracy-wise, then yeah, tourist visa. But if you want to live here, no, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I was just throwing it there because it is a option, but I wouldn't. Kind of an option. Like I said,
Kind of an
I know
option.
people who have done it, right?
Well, yeah, me too.
So that's all I'm just saying, that it's a thing. I highly do not recommend you do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you don't have a degree, there's other ways, like we mentioned, there's other visas that you can do.
You can always figure it out, dude. It's not too hard to come here. It's hard to stay here.
Yeah.
Remain here. The life here might be a little bit harder than you think it is. It could be a little bit more challenging. Things might not be exactly as you imagine them. Do a lot of research on Japan, the law, the rules, the regulations. What is it that is fundamentally different from your country? A Google search will be very helpful. If you're from Sweden, what are the main differences between Sweden and Japan? And you're likely going to find a list that will then bring you to another rabbit hole that allows you to learn as much as possible.
I would say though, to be honest, Japan is easy to me. All right, so it depends on you what type of lifestyle you want though, because because I know him, I would say Japan is hard to stay in, but there's a lot of people I know that Japan is actually not that hard to stay in, but that's because they're not aiming for too much, quote unquote.
Gotcha.
And what I mean by that is, like English teaching is not like a lot of money, but it's enough money to
To
pay
live.
bills, go drinking once in a while, and if you don't speak Japanese and you want to go hang in Shibuya with all the foreigners and mess with those kind of people, like you literally could totally live just like this every single year, renew your little 1 year visa for teaching English, and you literally could just have a good life, like a
Yeah.
simple, easy life, like literally. If you don't care for like a bigger house or something like or owning a house or really owning anything, right? Like if you're just like, yo, I'm day to day, I'm living life. You literally can live like that, and you'll be
That's a
totally
good
fine.
point. I mean,
You'll
at
be
one point
totally
you're gonna
fine.
get to the age that you're
You,
not
you
gonna
might
like
you
that.
might not.
You might not. Okay, fine.
I'm just saying,
did
like,
see I did see 60-year-olds in the fucking
in a club, right? Like
Yeah.
right, doing the whole all that. Like now, I'm not shaming nobody. I'm just saying
No, it's fact.
to like everybody got their own lifestyle. So if you don't mind just like being comfortable off of that, then I mean that's
Yeah, do
literally
you? Yeah.
totally fine, and you literally could live like that in Japan. And if that's the case, I would not say Japan is hard to live in. But if you're trying to own things, you want to get a little bit more, then
You're gonna
challenges start
find
to
a lot
arise.
of obstacles. Yeah.
And that's why that's how I would say
That's
is
a
a
good
fair,
point,
the
yeah.
fairest like the fairest assessment between both opinion, like both thoughts of that.
Mhm.
And like that's like you yourself, the individual watching, you have to decide who you are or what you want. You might not know. You might be okay with that now and then change your mind. Or you might think you want to do all this and you're like, nah, I like it here. I want to go back.
Which
I don't
brings
feel
me
like building
back
stuff,
to
right?
to the research thing. Like, find out what are the main differences. Find out what it is that could surprise you if you went from country A to Japan, country X to Japan. Like, it's important that you understand that things may be massively different. I mean, dude, if you come from Colorado thinking that you may have the same kind of treatments that you have here in Japan, that ain't gonna work. There are some even medications like ADHD
I'll give you. I got a
medications that. Go ahead.
Gatorade is banned for all
Gatorade
my
is
athletes.
banned.
For all my athletes, or I need my Gatorade from it's banned in Japan. Yes, they got a BVO and another substance that Japan feels cause cancer and like is a flame retardant. So yeah, like Gatorade is actually banned here.
Which is
If you're a
also
Gatorade
why a
fan.
lot of medications here in Japan that are very common in America, especially like I remember, is it ADHD or
ADHD is the you
Yeah.
can't focus thing,
yeah, the
which I
attention
think I have.
deficiency
Yeah, I
disorder.
think I got that, but
Yeah, but Japan doesn't consider that, like most of the world outside of America, does not consider that to be an actual thing. So those medications, if you bring them into Japan, thinking because you have a prescription, thinking that you can bring them in, you're actually committing a felony. And you may or may not get caught, but if you do get caught, it's a problem. So what you want to do, I'm going to link some articles underneath here when you go on YouTube, something that I wrote even myself that is going to give an idea of what you have to do if you want to bring certain medications. But that's another thing to take into consideration. In other words, when you come here, when you move here, a lot of things that you consider being normal may or may not be so. So make sure that at least the most important things for you, you know what to expect, because that can be life-changing.
yeah, I think
Yeah, we're
that's-
done. There's one thing that I want to do. I really want to do it. Okay, so wait. Don't you hear the clapping?
I do.
You do? Nice. I like the sound. I want to start implementing sound. Yeah, shut up. I'm old. I like these things. It was nice. This was the end of episode
2.
That was-
how to move to Japan. The Gaijin Bar with LL and FT.
Indeed.
Do you have any closing argument here?
You guys do your research, or I mean, hell, be YOLO. If you want to do that too, that's totally fine. Low key, I kind of did that. I kind of did that. I ain't gonna hold you. I didn't
I
do.
still disagree.
Oh yeah, I didn't do so much research, but I did know that I did like know what I was looking for here. So yeah, if you want to be YOLO and you got the time to do so, as in like you're young enough that it won't affect you too much, But definitely, I would say, do your research. You got so many resources to help you prepare yourself for this kind of move that is like no point in not taking advantage of it. This podcast is just another one of those resources. You got Mag, YouTube, and all that you could go check, and people streaming, you could go see it live and all that. So.
And if there is something that we have not covered in this podcast episode and you want to contact us somehow directly, through one of our channels, feel free to do so, because you may actually have thought about something that we haven't, or you may have thought about something that we do know about and we didn't give you the answer on this podcast preemptively. Just let us know. All right?
Basically, we're here. Yeah, that's all I got to say, man. Y'all, be easy. Again, Japan is opening next month, so some of you guys might come in here. Make sure you just follow rules and make your plan and enjoy yourself.
And we'll see you next week with episode 4 of the Gaijin Bar. But in the meantime, you guys stay safe, stay frosty, stay happy.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Shout out to all the first-time listeners, all the first-time listeners, all the last-time listeners, and everybody else in between. And we will see you guys next week.
Peace out.
Peace.